we are ready to go over our favorites, a digital collage project. Favorites can be along the following themes: family, friends, furries, favorite, fun. You can use personal photos or ones from the internet as long as they are Creative Commons photos. Here's the example. Are you recognizing some of the things that we have been doing in our mini lessons now? You should be able to see photo shapes, master page, custom word art, pictures with backgrounds removed, clip art that has transparent fills, ordering the images, lots and lots of stuff going on. We broke it down into 4 days of mini lessons. You may not use every single one of these, but you will use the majority of them to create your project. I only used word art just a little bitty bit on this one, though I had originally started out wanting to use more, but I felt my image got too busy with it. When you have your images, a place to keep them while you're curating them is in a folder that if you want to make in your Google Drive called Favorite Images. You can also use Google Keep. When creating your project, use that space around the actual page to collect images, clip art, and design elements. I didn't use everything I collected, but it was nice to have it ready. So I front-loaded my time getting my photos ready to pull over into my image piece. But there's some pieces that I like that just didn't make the cut. To find zoom out and zoom in, you go to the magnifying glass, and down here at the bottom, Control Alt dash or Control Alt plus will zoom you in or zoom you out of your page. And that space all around it is like putting all your pencils out on the desk and then grabbing the one that you want. It's that workaround, that workspace area that is actually pretty cool to use. So usually I just shrink down my pictures. I zoom out so that I can see all that space and I start chunking stuff there. That's all like it's not going to print out if you were to print it. Whatever's going to print is just on your page. So when you're creating your project, remember to use your master page for your background image. I promise you it's going to help. And one of the things I added throughout my process is images such as this yoga figure and this leaf branch. I knew I wanted them, and I knew I wanted them at the very back. So I pushed them onto the master page once I figured out where I wanted them. This figure moved around a lot, and when I was happy with it, then I moved it to the master page. And the reason why is like on my original one, this is where all that my favorite foods are. And so I was trying to adjust my foods, and I kept hitting the branch. Ooh, it was a little annoying, but I knew I wanted that branch in that space. But I also knew I wanted it in the back. So I just went ahead and copy and pasted onto my master page.
The 6 principles of design are repetition, variety, rhythm, balance, emphasis, and economy. Knowing and understanding the principles of design will help you make intelligent decisions to create the effect you want. Repetition creates patterns and sets up a coherent rhythm. It can be done through repeating the same shape, color, texture, stroke, etc. Because repetition happens in the real world, it gives us a comforting sense of familiarity. This image relies heavily on repetition to create visual interest. These are a few examples of repetition present within this single image. Variety makes things more visually interesting. It can be created by varying the scale or size, color, value, texture, etc. of repeating elements within a piece. To create variety within this design, I varied the shape and scale of the stars in the background. Visual rhythm is created through repetition and variety. Rhythm can be slow, fast, consistent, inconsistent, etc. In this piece, a consistent and even rhythm is created by the careful balancing of shapes and elements within the composition. Visual balance can be symmetrical or asymmetrical. An image is symmetrical when the visual balance is distributed equally, creating a mirror image. An image is asymmetrical when visual balance is achieved through counterbalancing. This image is almost perfectly symmetrical, but the few variations added create enough variety to make it interesting and appealing. This image is clearly asymmetrical, as both halves are not mirror images. Instead, balance is achieved by counterbalancing the heavy lower right with the light, empty upper left. Emphasis creates a focal point. Areas that are light in value, brightly colored, or highly detailed draw the viewer's eye more than areas that are dark, dull, or less complex. In this piece, the focal point becomes the title within the center hoop. The text is centered, elevated, it is the lightest value present, and it's the most detailed element within the composition. Economy is created using only what is necessary and eliminating everything that is distracting from the main point. Good examples of economy strive to communicate feelings, actions, or objects in as little detail as possible. Consider these examples. By stripping away all unnecessary detail, we're left with a simple and rather abstract presentation of the original. And even though it's far from natural looking, we recognize it as something that we know from life. In this image, I created the suggestion of a futuristic cityscape by using simple silhouettes and shapes. This creates the illusion of a cityscape in the background without taking the viewer's attention away from the main figure in the foreground. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Visit simplearttips.com for more art tips and tutorials.
So as you're beginning to create your piece, I want you to keep these principles in mind. The ones we're going to be using the most are emphasis and probably repetition. Emphasis is that size factor. Scale them up and scale them down depending on what you're trying to do. Repetition is having some things the same or in a movement piece. So as we're doing our piece, think about these design principles as you're creating. Be creative. I cannot wait to see what you're going to do. I'm so excited.